Hello, hello. Hope you all are doing well. We are doing another Friday night happy hour, which is not typical. Um, but I could not come on yesterday because of my teaching schedule. So this month we're going to have a couple of Friday night happy hours. Um, Mostly because the Thanksgiving holiday is coming up. So, and I want to have a holiday too. So I'm gonna be on Friday for a couple more nights this month, and then we'll go back to regularly doing happy hours on Thursdays. Um, it is a tired Friday. I'm not gonna lie, Dulcinea. I almost didn't make it. I almost didn't get on camera. Um, but I'm hard headed and a Taurus, and I'm all about this consistent schedule. So I pulled myself together around 2 hours ago and was like, girl, girl, get yourself together, throw some makeup on your face and make this come together. So I'm here. Um, so now y'all got to get in my business and know that I don't pay for YouTube because of these dang on ads. Hold on. We do not care about whatever detergent or whatever that is, lady. Okay. Um, But I was listening to music and then the commercial started. But yeah, it is a very tired Friday, a very sleepy Friday. But I just wanted us to come on and make sure that we still did happy hour together. So I hope everyone is well. Hello, Nicole. Hello, Dulcinea. Good to see you both. Thank you for joining. We're going to start in just a moment. Don't expect a ton of people to join us tonight because I know that folks aren't used to the Friday schedule. That's very kind of you, Nicole. You don't have to do that. I don't want to give YouTube my money. I'm not going to go off on a tangent about it right now, but I just don't want to give them money. Um, so, um, but we're here for happy hour. For those of you who may be watching this in the replay or who come in a little bit late, happy hour is the segment where we gossip. We treat this just like you would happy hour in real life. We come together, we have a little drink, share libations, and we talk shit about what's going on in popular culture. I used to do celebrity readings a lot, and I've shifted away from that a little bit. I may be going back to it in the future. I don't know. It's just kind of not my bag, really. Even though a lot of what I came up with was right, especially around the Diddy trial and everything, things started to get really heavy. I didn't really want to keep tapping into such nasty energy in Hollywood, so I shifted away from that to what we do now, which is the happy hour section. So, or segments rather. So, if you don't have a drink, go get yourself one. I'm not drinking right now, so I got my sparkling water and my still water. I'm a multi-beverage girl, so I have sparkling and still with me. That's what I'm going to be sipping on tonight. And I want to talk about this Jhene Aiko and Big Sean situation. First of all, they have not confirmed. They have not said themselves that they are broken up. It's just Jhene did that typical cryptic Pisces thing where she put up an old song and got people talking. And folks have noted that they just have not been around or together for very long. I'm actually looking up Big Sean's natal chart right now because I'm not as familiar with his astrology as I am Jhene's. I know that Jhene is a Pisces moon. Not a Pisces moon, a Pisces sun. Should have did this before I got on camera. And I don't know what Big Sean's natal chart is. I think he's an Aries. Oh my God, poor thing. She with an Aries man. Oh no, he's a Scorpio. Even worse. Okay. Shout out to her. Peace, prayer, and blessings to her. But if they are broken up, and if First of all, I'm in the unpopular. I know a lot of people are like, we want relationships to work out. We want them to stay together. I love Scorpios too, but not romantically. I can never romantically be with a Scorpio. I get along more with Scorpio men than I do women. And I only dated one man romantically that was a Scorpio, and I contemplated murder. Romantically, it's too much. I don't like being smothered. I don't like being obsessed over. I don't like hypocrisy. All the things that I find funny in Scorpio men in terms of their friendship makes me want to I thought about bashing him in the head in his sleep more than once. And when those thoughts come up, I need to get away I need to get away. Um, there's just too much yeah, I'm not gonna go there. But I say that to say, there are certain signs that I love in terms of friendship and could never deal with romantically. Scorpio is one of them. Um, and it is because Scorpios they can be very hypocritical. They can have a lot of standards for their partner that they themselves don't like to engage in. Manipulative, toxic endings. That's their vibe. That's their vibe. Um, that's their vibe. I don't think that they know how else to end things. But I don't want to go on a tangent about Scorpios tonight. The reason why I wanted to talk about them or talk about this relationship is because I think that there's a lot we can learn about the dangers of being a ride or die in romance, right? And that was the main reason why I wanted to talk about this relationship. That's what I wrote in the description if you're looking at the title of the video, Cost of Being a Ride or Die. But also, I want to talk about the dangers of being wrapped up in the aesthetics of spirituality. I think that that's also something that this couple really, really suffered from. They fetishized this twin flame dynamic. Every time they were together, they were talking about astrology. Jhene is very much a crystal bitch, but she's a toxic crystal bitch, right? I love her music. I'm a big fan of Jhene's music. I know she's R&B Jigglypuff, but I like her music, right? But she is a very much a toxic, aesthetic, spiritual girly. I think that, like a lot of people that are into aesthetic spirituality, she likes the appearance of it. She likes to be seen as the beautiful spiritual girl with the sound bowls and But then it stops at shadow work. It stops at healing things on the inner level. And allegedly, when she got with Big Sean, she was already married. And she threw her husband under the bus to go with this person that she sees as her twin flame. That ending was very toxic. She did not treat that man well. And I believe that when you marry somebody, even if it ends, you should find a way to end it in peace. To slander him publicly, write songs where you put his drug addiction out and all these other things just to make yourself seem better than, that's some toxic shit. And you have to really ask yourself, what is that spiritually? Is that a spiritually sound or nice thing to do to a person, period, but especially somebody that you claim you love, just to get closer to the new dick? That's insane, right? I love when you say, People say that a lot. Thank you, Dulcinea. That's funny. Um, Let me get to my notes before I get to rambling. So again, people saw them as this kind of poster couple for spiritual love, right? And they really, really reveled in that. Like, even before people knew they were together, they had that 2088, is that what it's called? That album that they did together, which was actually really good. It was a good album. I really liked them together musically. So that's one, for selfish reasons as a music fan, I hope that even if they are separated, they find a way to collaborate together in the future, because they do make some dope ass music, right? But they were this poster couple with the twin flame energy, them talking about their healing journeys. Sean really cited Jhene as being a huge part of him going into his healing journey. And I want to talk about that in a little bit because that's a lot of danger. Being romantically involved with somebody that makes you responsible for their healing journey or taking on someone else's healing journey in your romance is highly dangerous. It is deeply dangerous for both involved, okay? But they talked a lot about mutual elevation and growth in their music. And people kind of fetishize that in a really particular way. But it was actually really codependent and actually quite dangerous. And it's really important that we ask ourselves, what is the cost of being a ride or die? What are we left with when these ride or die relationships come to an end, right? It sounds romantic, but it both glorifies and conflates sacrifice with love. And I'm not a believer that all love involves sacrifice. Marriage involves sacrifice in order to make it work. But the sacrifice is one of a melding of resources, of figuring out how to live life together. But if you are in a romance where you end up feeling like the only way you can keep this person is to constantly betray yourself, to sacrifice who you are, to put your needs and your desire, your care on the back burner, that's not really love. That's codependence, and it sets you up for manipulation. It sets you up for energy vampirism. It sets you up to be, low key, it sets you up for predation. Whether or not the person knows that they're being a predator, it sets you up for predation. I have no idea who these people are. It's cool, Nicole. Honestly, if I'm being really honest, I'm a little too old to know who they are as well. The only reason why I know who they are is because Jhene Aiko is from California, and I'm always going to be deeply tapped into California music, and I'm just a music nerd in general. I remember I found Big Sean in 2010 when he came out through the Super Duper Flow freestyle. If you guys are hip hop heads, you probably know Super Duper Flow. That was what put him on the map. If you're not a hip hop head, I'm gonna say a lot of things you don't know and understand, so I apologize in advance. But it's fine. It's okay if you don't know who they are. Who saw them like that? I always thought the pairing was off. There are people that saw them as a really spiritually connected couple. Their fans saw them that way, particularly Jhene's fans. But the toxic spiritual girlies love Jhene. She comes out with these chants, right? Every now and then, calm down, calm down. And so people are locked into that. But if you actually listen to her music, I remember there was a post going around at one point saying there's not a huge difference between Jhene Aiko and Sexy Red. And low key, if you listen to their music and you really dig into their patterns, there really isn't one, right? But again, I really want to talk about this myth or the ride or die because I think it's dangerous in general, and I think it's deeply dangerous for Black and brown women, particularly Black women, especially because historically we've been socialized to be strong, to be loyal, to be forgiving to a fault, right? There's nothing anyone can do to us that we shouldn't be able to forgive, right? This trope of Big Mama, right? Big Mama can, let her husband run out on her and have a whole other family down the street, but she's still going to be loyal, and even to the point where she raises his other children. Like these tropes about the strong Black woman being loving and self-sacrificing hurt us. They hurt us deeply, and they set us up for predatory romance. And I think that it's really important for us to be really critical when we see these power couples, these celebrity couples that really push this narrative, because it's fucking dangerous, right? The ride or die love really centers your partner's growth over your joy, your care, your nurturing, and your happiness. It sidelines the needs of the woman in the relationship, right? The woman is supposed to be the ride or die. She's supposed to be willing to put the gun in her purse. She's the one who's supposed to take the fall, right? She's the one who's supposed to understand when they have the break baby, i.e. Gabrielle and Dwayne Wade, right? This ride or die shit really sets women up to not only always be taking some sort of sacrifice or some sort of hit, but somehow we're supposed to enjoy it. And I don't believe that that's healthy. It puts women in a position where they are supposed to become, their partner's therapist, their healer, their cheerleader. I'm known to, in the process of when I date, once I start to see that there's that expectation, I tell people, look, I'm looking for a partner. I'm not a social worker. I want an equal. I'm not a social worker. I'm not here to be your social worker. And it sounds like that's what you need. And I'm sorry if you hate that I'm saying that, but that's not what I'm signing up for. I'm a healer in my life. It's how I make my living. So no, I don't want that in my romance. Do I expect you to show up perfect? No. But you need to be taking responsibility for your own healing journey. And even in the way that Jhene and Sean talked about their relationship, it seemed like she took responsibility for the healing journey. His healing journey as well as her own. That's a lot of weight to put on another person. Making them responsible for your healing, that's crazy. Because not only does it put an extra burden on them, like they don't have their own relationship with God, their own ancestry they need to think about, but it makes it seem like you are pathetic, like you aren't capable. Are you a man or are you a puppy? Are you a man or are you an infant? It's never a good thing when one person is responsible for all of the healing journey in a relationship. It's never a good thing. It's only going to overburden one person and then put another person in a position where they never take responsibility for learning. They never take responsibility for learning about how to tap into their intuition, for being able to navigate their own obligations. I see some of y'all don't like this topic. I done lost 5 people. If y'all are probably people that like being the ride or die. Y'all like being the spiritual anchor in your relationship. You got to ask yourself what it's costing you. You don't get to complain about the fact that you don't have an equal partner and you decide to be a spiritual mammy. There's danger in that. This is a dynamic that mimics mothering. It turns your relationship into one of emotional labor that's disguised as devotion. And that's dangerous. You are setting yourself up for spiritual and energy vampirism. It's not healthy. This is how women get in these relationships and they're only a couple years in and you look at them and it looks like they've aged 5 to 10 years. This person, this man or woman that you're in relationship with, that you've made yourself responsible for their spiritual journey, they're literally sucking you dry. They're sucking the energy out of you. And a lot of women believe that if they love somebody through their trauma, they'll eventually love them better. I say this all the time, and this is one of the first things I learned in my priestess training. You can heal somebody away from you. You can heal somebody away from you. And this is why I prioritize self-love, even in my love workings. I have reconciliation readings that I do with partners through natal chart work, right? Through synastry work, as well as spiritual coping and counseling. And this is something that I say to the people all the time when they sign up for this service. If what you want is to reconcile the relationship, that's one thing. But if what you want is to scapegoat and hyperfixate on one person's healing, please know that you may heal this person away from you. Because once they heal certain traumas, and they no longer need a mammy that they can fuck, right? No, once they no longer need their partner to be their mother, and they heal that mother wound, the thing that attracted them to you may become the thing that repels them from you. So who do you want to be as a woman? Do you want to be the woman that constantly has to mother your partners? Because the second that that man heals that mother wound, they may not want you anymore. That's something that you need to acknowledge. It's very important to think about that. So yeah, you can love them through their trauma all you want to. But what happens when they heal from that trauma and then they heal themselves away from you? And then you sit there exhausted, depleted, all of your energy sucked out of you. This is why you got to heal yourself too. Heal yourself beyond always being the people pleaser, the servant. Why are you a servant in your relationship? Because what happens is, again, once that man heals outside of that mother wound, it leads to resentment. It leads to exhaustion. You come in serving, healing, being mommy, and then once they heal beyond that mother wound and you're still trying to tell them what to do, you're telling them what their prayer schedule is, you're pointing out all their faults, you telling them how to wash their ass right. Once they learn how to do all that and you're still in that energy of telling them how to do those things, what happens? They get resentful. So rather than fetishizing being the crystal girl and the girl that loves people into healing and all this other stuff, what are you doing for your healing? What are you doing to take care of yourself? Are you encouraging your partner to be self-sufficient? Or are you hoping that that codependency will last forever? Now, again, I don't know them. I'm not in their life. I haven't pulled a card on them in years. I think there's an old reading on when I did celebrity readings, an old reading about them. And that came up in that reading, that she's his spiritual mother and that that's dangerous, right? So this is something we got to learn from. At what point does loyalty become self-betrayal? At what point does loyalty become self-betrayal? She gave 10 years of her life to that man and gave him his first son. And you know how black men are about my son, my son, my son, my legacy, my son. She gave him his first son. And he still could not give her marriage. He still could not give her commitment. 10 years. At what point does loyalty become self-betrayal? Those are important things to ask ourselves in any romance, in any relationship. It becomes self-betrayal when you lose agency and self. Amen, no name. Amen, absolutely. You never get that time back. Absolutely, Nicole. So these are things you got to ask. And here's the thing. The same way it doesn't take 10 years for a man to know whether or not he wants to be a woman, it doesn't take a woman 10 years to know when a man really don't fuck with you. Let me say that again. The same way it does not take a man 10 years to know whether or not he wants to be with a woman, it does not take a woman 10 years to understand when a man really doesn't fuck with you. And I think that in that Piscean way, I'm going to keep bringing up their astrology. I'm going to keep bringing up these sun signs. This is what it means when people say that Pisces are delusional. This is what it means when Pisces engage in escapism. This is what it means when people say that Pisces is the sign of the martyr and the self-sacrificial, right? Because Pisces think that the more they sacrifice themselves for a person, the more will bring them love and loyalty. It doesn't. It never does. It just brings them pain. It brings them more opportunity for people to play in their face. You think her first baby daddy influenced her spiritual side? Absolutely. Absolutely. That whole little clique of ex-B2K members that she used to be with, that she started singing with, they all, yeah. Absolutely. Orion definitely influenced her spiritual side. You can see it if you follow. I followed him on Instagram for a very brief period of time for extremely superficial reasons. But when you look at him and when you look at Omarion, the way that they engage in spirituality is damn near copy paste how she engages with it. So I absolutely think that her first baby father influenced her spiritual side. But these are all things we really got to think about. Like ride or die, it sounds cute on the surface. We've popularized it in our culture. It is deeply, deeply dangerous. Now let's talk about what happens when you only focus on aesthetic spirituality and how that leads to spiritual bypassing. Because again, I'm not trying to kick this woman's back in. I don't know her. Everything I say is alleged, alleged, alleged. But I do think that she has become the poster child for spiritual baddies. And a lot of spiritual baddies engage in spiritual bypassing. You know, they want to be known for the waist beads. They got the flyest and the best sound bowls, biggest crystals on earth in the backgrounds of their pictures and in their live streams and shit. But their lives are fucked up and they keep going back to the same cycles because they engage in spiritual bypassing. When I talk about aesthetic spirituality, y'all know exactly what I mean. These are the sage girlies. These are the girls who always have a moon caption, right? They always do all this shit. But when it comes to their habits, when it comes to their ways of being, there's no alignment. Because it's all performance for them. All performance. I don't believe in suffering or ride or die. I don't either, Phoenix Indigo. That's why we're having this conversation tonight. I don't believe in it either. That's why I was like, she go from him to Big Sean. That's because Big Sean really didn't have no identity like that. Big Sean, that's why I was shocked that he's a Scorpio. Scorpio men are really fascinating. They're either extremely domineering, extremely overwhelming, or they're like super weak and milquetoast, right? And they can show up almost like Cancerian men, like very malleable, very moldable. It's really, really weird. There's no in between with Scorpio men. But a lot of relationships that are labeled as spiritual are actually trauma bonds. They're trauma bonds that are wrapped in astrology and affirmation language. And I think that that's what they had. I think that there was a trauma bond there. I think that there was a lot of weakness in him that was drawn to her spiritual side. And I think that there was a part of her that always wanted a celebrity relationship, but was looking for somebody that she could dominate in a really particular way, right? Regardless of how you guys feel about Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, I think that that's why they didn't work. Because regardless of how goofy you think Childish is, he is rooted in his identity in a really particular way. Like, he's rooted in, I'm a fucking goof who doesn't shower every day, who has an Asian fetish. He's rooted in his weirdo shit. Whereas Big Sean never really seemed to have a solid identity like that, right? So there was a trauma bond there that was really wrapped up in spiritual wrapping paper. And I think that's a huge part of what kept them together for so long. Yes, I'm slightly amazed by some of the spiritual girls beefing online. It's a bit hard to take them seriously because they're not really tapped into their spirituality like that. Wait until you meet the spiritual girlies that stink. The spiritual girlies that want to talk to you about Ori but don't wash their hair. You can't do Ori work if you're walking around with a filthy scalp. There are so many contradictions in the aesthetic spiritual girlies online. And then when you meet them face to face, it's like, oh my God. There's a lot of weirdo shit going on there. But I think they publicly modeled emotional intelligence, but even conscious couples can fall into cycles of imbalance and codependency. It's a thing that happens, right? Healing ecstatics can be emotional performance. So it helps people to look healed instead of actually doing the work. They appear healed. I see y'all putting up the confused faces. I'm not saying this to be mean. It's a thing that happens. I've encountered it on, those of you who've done in-person healing sessions with me, y'all know I don't play that. I smell good. I smell good. I'm literally known for smelling good. So ain't no funk on me, but it happens. From experience, people-pleasing behaviors can be linked to trauma. It is a thing. It is definitely a thing. True spirituality requires confronting ego. It requires you confronting your control issues. You have to really confront the parts of us that need validation, right? So there's a really big shadow side to healing love, right? A shadow side to these people that always want to get in relationships with folks that they have to heal and that they have to nurture because they're not really looking for partnerships, they're looking for projects. And the reason why they're looking to turn their partners into projects is because it's a way to not deal with yourself. If I'm always fixing this nigga, if I'm always preparing him a spiritual bath, if he's always in some sort of crisis that I got to stop and do divination for, then I don't deal with me. I don't acknowledge my shadows. I don't figure out a way to heal myself. And then so instead of me talking about my own personal progress and being vulnerable with my own personal healing, I got to always talk about him like he's some sort of walking testimonial of my capabilities. It's projection, right? When your role in your relationship is the one who heals, you lose your sense of self and your healing doesn't work. That's just the reality. The healing partner archetype feeds the ego. It feeds the ego because it feels good to be the one who brings peace, but it also reinforces an imbalance in a relationship, an imbalance that becomes codependency. It sounds exhausting to me, but you would be surprised, Phoenix Indigo, how many people get off on this shit. You would be surprised how many people are comfortable with being in this position. Not everyone deserves access to your healing energy. Some people see your light as a source of survival, not partnership. And that's an important thing to be aware of. A partner that really loves you, that understands spirituality, we use this phrase spiritual work. It is work. Spiritual work requires spiritual labor. Any of you guys who've done spiritual workings, you know after it's done, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to eat and you want to go to sleep. And that's because that shit exhausts you. It exhausts you the same way that a full day of work does. So imagine somebody who thinks that because you love them, you're supposed to pour that into them all the time, over and over again for free, as if you don't have children, as if you don't have your own family, as if, God forbid, this is your actual career. How could you have this as a career and be in partnership with somebody who expects you to do spiritual labor for them over and over again? They would never fix his mouth to ask me to do no shit like that. The one time he came to me and asked me to do a spiritual working for him, he paid me. The one time he asked me to do a working for him, he fucking paid me. And he paid me more than my clients do. I want you to think about that. My person paid me for my spiritual labor. He didn't assume that just because I allow him to put his dick in me that he gets permission to siphon my energy. That's respect. That's respect. Bragging that you got the girl who knows how to do spiritual baths and that they do it for you for free. After the first couple times, that may be cute, but after a while, that shit gets predatory. Unless it's your husband or your wife, somebody that you have a contractual commitment to through spirit, hell no. And even then, it shouldn't be a constant expectation. It should be my husband or wife is teaching me this so that I can do it for myself. Because I'm not going to siphon all their energy. That gets to the point of energy vampirism. Okay? So it's really important to ask yourself, am I in a partnership or have I taken on a new project? Am I in an actual partnership or have I taken on a new project? Those are really important things to ask. Love should not cost you your spiritual center. You should not lose yourself and fall out of alignment just because you're in a relationship. And I think that this is something that women struggle with way more than men. Even outside of spiritual relationships, women will lose themselves. It's more common that a woman gets into a relationship and you don't hear from them anymore than it is men. Men still gonna talk to their mama. They still gonna hang out with their boys. It's women that lose themselves. And we got to be very, very careful about that. We got to be very careful about that. Why is it that we think that in order to have love, we have to give up our identity? We have to give up our center. Low key, give up our relationship with God. That's crazy. That is insanity. Healthy love is not going to require you to shrink your boundaries or become somebody's savior. You don't need to be somebody's savior to be loved. That shouldn't even be something that you want. And somebody who truly loves you, who truly fucks with you, they don't even want that from you. So going back to what I said earlier, it does not take a man 10 years to know whether or not he wants to marry somebody. It's not going to take you 10 years to understand whether or not a man fucks with you. And anytime they're coming to you and all they want is for you to pour out into them, whether it's sex, whether it's, God forbid, y'all money, because some of y'all be giving money to niggas, and that's crazy to me. That's another, I'm not going to talk about that on this live stream, but I wish a man would fucking expect. I'm not going to go there. But even your spiritual labor is a real labor. Understanding that. Why is this man thinking that I'm supposed to cook for him all the time? He ain't gave me not nary $1 for groceries. Why is this man always coming to me, trauma dumping on me, talking to me about all his problems, asking me to pray for him, asking me to light a candle at my altar? When has he once ever prayed for me? Does this nigga know how to pray? Why are you in a relationship with somebody that don't know how to pray? What's going on there? Ride or die women are often scared to disappoint in love. And that's why they overperform. I think it was No Name that brought up earlier, people pleasing is a trauma response. If you find yourself always being the ride or die in your relationships, you got to ask yourself, why am I moving this way? Why am I so afraid of disappointing this man or this woman that I'm with that I'm allowing them to literally siphon my energy? Because spiritual maturity means you're able to walk away when the connection no longer honors your growth. Spiritual maturity is loving you enough to walk away from somebody who's going to lose you into exhaustion. That's one of my biggest fears about relationships. So that's something that you got to work on healing. Don't let it make something that makes you run away from relationships. Heal it so that you don't become the person that does that, right? And that you have the strength to walk away when you see, okay, this is going to hurt me. This is going to harm me. People don't understand. Walking away is a sign of spiritual growth. It takes spiritual growth to walk away from somebody who's siphoning you, who's siphoning your energy. Instead of being so downtrodden and it's a lack of self-worth that makes us stay in situations that harm us. And that sounds harsh, but it is. Remember, spirits deal in fact. They don't deal in the isms. There's something going on with your self-worth that makes you stay in situations that are harming you. So the real spiritual work is to tap in and figure out what the self-worth issue is and to heal that. It's not to stay and constantly get your back kicked in and have your energy drained, have your life force drained. I would like to challenge all of us to reframe ride or die to grow or go. Grow or go is what I follow. Grow or go. Am I seeing this person take responsibility for themselves? Are they actually growing up? Are they capable of taking feedback? Do they only love me when I'm serving them, or the second that I say something to them about accountability, responsibility, their role in the thing, they're nasty to me. They're withholding love. They're giving me the silent treatment. They're pushing things back onto me or projecting onto me. Or God forbid, they're getting verbally violent. If that's what's happening, then I go. Grow or go will keep you away from situations that traumatize you. So shift from ride or die and go into grow or go. Grow or go will save you from a lot of bullshit. It really, really will. It's really important to ask, what would it look like if we applied our rituals and our spiritual tools to self-worth instead of suffering? This man keeps getting into the same drama over and over again, same legal issues, same money issues. And instead of you using your candles and your spiritual tools to bring you self-worth so that you can have a partner that doesn't need those things, you wasting your energy and your resources on trying to save this motherfucker from themselves. That's crazy. New tattoo idea. I love that. I see parallels with platonic relationships too, and that's another thing. I haven't done a "What About Your Friends" segment in a while because the last time I tried to do one, someone who was being a terrible friend had a hit dog with holler moment and literally terrorized me for 2 months straight. Scorpio man, not gonna have that conversation. But that's something that I want to talk about. There are certain ways where we can think that we've healed through a dynamic when it comes to romance. And if we're not careful, that will spill over into our platonic relationships. That's a thing that happens. So I'm really glad that you pointed that out, Phoenix Indigo. That's really important to realize. But yeah, I know that there are a lot of people saying that they hope this breakup isn't true. I'm on the other side of that because I think that this breakup would represent spiritual evolution for them. Because what they had, even though it was getting promoted as romantic, it was actually extremely codependent. And as somebody who used to be a really big fan of Big Sean's work, I actually saw his work decline. Jhene's work declined. Let's be real. That last album, that Chilumbo album she put out, was some bullshit. So both of them, like in losing their identity in this relationship, actually suffered, made their individuality suffer, made their creativity suffer, and their art is suffering as a result. And this is why I'm saying the codependent relationships aren't healthy. Because you literally lose your light. You lose the thing that makes you you. All right. Those are all the things I wanted to say about them in this relationship. As always, I have readings based off this topic. I have readings based off this topic. If you guys would like a reading, I have 2 of them. One is to look at whether or not we're being spiritually authentic. So if you want to get an assessment of where you are in terms of your own journey with spiritual authenticity, you can get a mirror and the mask reading. If you want to look at your relationship to self-sacrifice when it comes to love, whether romantic or platonic, you can get a love without losing the self reading. Those are 2 readings I'm offering tonight. If anyone would want either of them, you know the drill at this point. The minimum love offer is $11.11. You just send that to my Cash App or PayPal, and then you write in the comments which of the 2 readings you want. So go ahead and, again, if you want a reading, let me know. If not, that's totally fine. But so if you don't remember the names of the readings, one is to look at where you are in terms of your spiritual authenticity. The other is to help you identify whether or not you have any self-sacrificial habits related to love. So if you want either of those, you can just put authenticity or self-sacrifice in the comments after you send your love offering. I'm going to catch up on the comments real quick. They acted like they fed on each other. That is the point, Phoenix Indigo. These spiritually codependent relationships are a form of feeding on each other, right? Because you have the one partner that doesn't want to do their own spiritual work, and they want their partner to be responsible for the spiritual journey. And then you have the other partner that wants to seem like a spiritual healer, wants to seem like a spiritually aligned person, but God forbid they do their own spiritual work. And they're looking for projects and other things to focus on outside of their own healing. It is clear, again, I'm saying this as a Jhene Aiko fan. That little Blasian got some fucking anger issues. That little Blasian Pisces has some anger fucking issues. And y'all can get wrapped up in the fact that she sing like Jigglypuff and that she whispers all her songs all you want to. But there is some rage in that little tiny thing. And I haven't, going off based off her music, I don't know if there's a whole lot of elevation there. I think there's a whole lot of covering through spiritual aesthetics. I think there's a whole lot of escapism and avoidance. But that's different. That's different than doing the shadow work and having the integration. I would love a without losing the self reading. I have a new love brewing and I'm terrified. All right, go ahead and send your love offering, Tori. Once you send your love offering, I'll go ahead and do your reading. Let me see who's submitted so far. Give me a second. Gotta switch over into the other account. She really can't sing. She's not the best singer on the planet, but I think she's an amazing songwriter. And I do love her songs. Okay. So I'm going to start with Nicole. And then Tori, once you send your love offering, I'll do your reading after Nicole. But Nicole wants the love without losing the self as well. So I'm going to start with Nicole. And then that way people can see what this particular reading looks like and then make a decision about whether or not they want it as well. Okay? So let's see. Let me pull the reading up. So again, 3-card reading. First is to look at the wound. Second looks at the boundary. Third looks at the balance, okay? I'm going to use Afro Anime for this. Ancestors, angels, ascended master spirits to walk with me. What does Nicole need to know about her love journey? Does she have any habits that can cause her to lose herself as it relates to love? If so, what are they? What will allow her to hold better boundaries so that she doesn't lose herself in love? What will bring her balance in her relationship? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. All right, Tori, I got you next. If there's anyone else that would like the reading, let me know. Okay, see, Phoenix Indigo, the reason why I call her hip-hop Jigglypuff, not hip-hop, R&B Jigglypuff is because her lyrics are gangster. I love her songwriting. She doesn't write for other people. I would love to see her write for other people. I would love to see her write for people that have strong voices. I think it would be awesome because she is such a great songwriter. Having said that, I call her hip-hop or R&B Jigglypuff because, so if you're familiar with Pokemon, Jigglypuff loves to sing, but because their voice is so soft, it puts people to sleep. And that's Jhene. Jhene has that whisper sing thing going on that doesn't really resonate with everybody. The only song I know of is Blue Dreams. Blue Dreams is a good song. You don't know The Worst? I thought The Worst was her most popular song. Dulcinea, I got you. Dulcinea, I'll do you after Tori. Okay. So in the position of the wound, which is what makes you overgive in love, we have Ace of Wands. So you may have had somebody that cheated in the past, right? Somebody that had a wandering heart. Or one of your foundational romances may have involved somebody leaving you in a way that really left an impact on you. Ace of Wands being the card of the wandering heart, being the card, all the wands are phallic, right? So it's somebody who can be attracted or distracted by new sexual passions very easily. So it was either somebody who left you for another person or who cheated on you with another person, right? So that can create a wound of overgiving, because a lot of times when people cheat, rather than defaulting to rage, women in particular will blame themselves and think that they didn't give enough of something. In terms of the boundary and the energy you need to use to protect yourself, 9 of Wands, right? Standing your ground. Really instead of having that memory being one that makes you believe you need to overgive and protect yourself, you need to have it as a memory, or the overgive, you need to have it as a memory that teaches you, okay, I got to protect myself. I got to take better care of myself, right? Remembering that the Nine of Wands is a card of multiple layers of protection so that you don't become the wounded warrior. You don't deal with the same wound over and over again. This is just information for you to have about yourself in terms of being protected. The guy, I already know because I've done readings on you and your romance. He ain't going nowhere. He ain't going to cheat on you. He knows better. So the partner you're with right now would never. But the balance in terms of how you can love freely and stay sovereign is friendship. So for you, and this is what's another thing that's good about I feel like I'm always bigging up your relationship, Nicole, but another part of the reason for you to have balance in your relationship, you have to be friends with somebody first. It has to be somebody who respects you as a friend first, celebrates you as a friend first, and loves the friendship so much that they would never do anything to violate it, right? They're so invested in the celebration of you that they honor that first and foremost. So that's your love without self-sacrifice. The wound comes from having been cheated on. The boundary is making sure that you protect yourself and protect your heart, and that you don't internalize other people's poor actions. And then what keeps the balance is making sure that you lead in friendship first. And again, we already know that your man loves you. He's obsessed with you, and he sees you as his best friend. So he would never violate you in that way. Okay? Tori, you are next, and then we'll do Dulcinea. If there's anyone else that would like either of the readings, either the spiritual authenticity reading or the love without sacrifice reading, just go ahead and send your love offering and then put which reading you want in the comments, okay? Ancestors, angels, and master spirits to walk with me. What does Tori need to know about how to love without sacrificing herself? What is the wound? How does she maintain boundaries? What will allow her to have balance in her romantic relationships? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. All resonates. Oh, awesome. I'm glad to hear that, Nicole. I'm glad that resonates with you. All right, Tori, I got you. No Name, you want one as well? Okay. Do you want the love reading or do you want the spiritual authenticity reading? Just let me know which one, and then I'll do you after Dulcinea. So we're doing Tori now, then we're going to do Dulcinea, and then you'll be next, No Name. The card that I put to the side was from a different deck, so we're not going to read that one because it got in there by mistake. All right. Oh, awesome. I'm excited. You're the only one that asked for that one so far, so I'm excited to see how it comes up. Okay. So the wounds for you, Tori, you have wounds around intimacy in general. I think that, and it's not just from past romantic relationships. Part of it is familial too, as well as friendships. I think that there are ways in which when you've been intimate, and for me, I'm going with the traditional definition of intimacy, which has nothing to do with physical. It's all like, and I know this is corny, people say intimacy is into me, you see. But intimacy is about being vulnerable with a person, right? And allowing them to really have access to you in a really private way, a vulnerable way. You have a lot of sadness that you can't get over around that, right? The Five of Cups being heartbreak or loss that we can't see beyond. So we focus so much on the spilled cups that we can't see the cups that are still full, right? So I think for you, intimacy is a struggle in general. That's the wound, because it's almost like you've collected the stories and the evidence of when people didn't honor your intimacy, and it shows up as a block for you, right? So that's the wound. The boundary So the energy that you need to really protect comes up as the Ace of Swords, and I think this is a really, really interesting one. You know intuitively when somebody is there for you. You know. You have to learn to trust it. You have to learn to trust your first mind and your first insight. I think that, again, going back to this wound, there have been times where somebody has really been there for you or is really fucking with you, really wants to be close to you, but you start to overthink, and that overthinking can cause you to shut down. So the Ace of Swords being the card of new downloads and insights, you have to really work on trusting your downloads and your intuition. That's something because your intuition is there to protect you. Our intuition comes from Ori. Ori would never violate you, right? So learning to really trust your first mind instead of feeling like you got to do that Libra thing of overthinking it because there has to be some sort of other answer. No, the first answer is often the right one. Trust your intuition, right? And even if somebody's having a bad moment, if your intuition is telling you that they actually really fuck with you, believe that instead of combing through the evidence from other people to justify why they don't. The balance. How can you love freely and stay sovereign? You have to allow yourself to be open. You have to allow yourself to be open, Tori. That's the only way. Page of Cups. Somebody who's learning how to be open while being grounded. What does it mean to have an open heart? And also be attuned into reality, right? You're learning how to be open while also not engaging in escapism, but being grounded at the same time. Okay? So that's something that you really got to work on. But that's what's going to help you to have the balance in your relationships. Okay? Let me know if that resonated for you, Tori. All right, so we got Dulcinea next, and then we have No Name with the Mirror and the Mask. Somebody just sent an offering in. I heard it, but I didn't see who it was, so give me 1 second to look at that. So Nidra, you want the Mirror and the Mask too. Okay, so I'm going to do Dulcinea for the love, then No Name, and then you for Mirror and Mask, okay? Let me look at my other account real quickly because I know some of you guys are still getting used to the new account. I knew it. I knew somebody was going to send. Okay, that was Tori. I already did Tori. Okay, no worries. All right, got it. So Dulcinea, then No Name, then Sinidra. All right. I'm going to switch decks for you, Dulcinea. Ancestors, angels, ascended masters, spirits who walk with me, elevated ancestors. What does Dulcinea need to know about what will allow her to engage in love without being so sacrificial? What is the lesson she needs to learn so that she doesn't lose herself? What is the wound? What is the boundary? What will bring balance? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. This person feels really safe, but I'm overthinking. Don't do that. Don't do that. You got to figure out a way to be bigger than your son, baby. Got to figure out a way to not do that. Libras will trap themselves that way by overthinking instead of just following what feels good, what feels right. If you feel safe for a reason. Let yourself feel safe, okay? So in terms of Dulcinea, are you here? Dulcinea, let me know if you're still here so that you hear your reading, okay? In terms of the wound, what can make you overgive in love? You have such a fear of being judged. You have a fear of being judged. You have a fear that not only will the people you love, because you tend to have romantic feelings or get into relationship with people that are a part of your immediate community or friendship circle already. So there's a part of you that feels like if they see the fullness of you, that they will pass judgment on you and that those judgments will trickle out into the community or the friendship circle, right? Um, and here's the thing, it's a fear. It may not even be rooted in reality, but that's the wound. A lot of times the fears we have aren't necessarily rooted in reality. So I don't even get that this is a thing that's happened to you yet. But it is a fear, and it makes sense because you are Virgo, and Virgos, it's not uncommon for them to be worried about that. But there's a part of you that feels like not only do you fear the judgment and the criticism, period, but you fear that that will be weaponized against you in a way that can become public, right? The boundary, what energy you need in order to help you protect yourself when it comes to love and romance. You have to be comfortable with setting up a stable foundation. Now, what does that mean? Love takes time. And even though there's a part of you that wants the storybook, all-consuming kind of love, most real love does not work that way. You have to, that's why I love that this is going viral in this deck, because viral moments really don't happen overnight. We want to believe that they do. Most of the people that go viral have put up like literally dozens of videos before one pops off, right? So you got to give yourself permission to not only be comfortable with building a stable foundation with the person, with the people that you love, being patient, getting to know them, learning their quirks, right? Being comfortable with that, right? Engaging in a slow process. That's what's going to lead you to that process of homecoming and stable relationship with somebody. So holding the boundary of, and this is interesting because up until you're the first person where the boundary is about holding the boundary with yourself. This is a boundary you got to hold with you. It's not that you hold with another person. It's a boundary that you hold with yourself to not feel a need to rush the process, right? Slow and steady, building a foundation, getting to know somebody, not pedestalizing them, being okay with the fact that they're not perfect, and figuring out what kinds of imperfection you're willing to deal with, right? Those are the kind of things you need to work on. In terms of the balance and how can you love freely and stay sovereign, you got to be comfortable with not being, you can't use the relationships as escapism. It's that simple. Ace of Pentacles, new opportunities to get your money, new opportunities to have new projects. If you can allow yourself to be in love and then still be focused on the things that make you you, your projects, your endeavors, your hobbies, really making sure that you are, when you find yourself being romantically tied to somebody, checking yourself and being like, okay, well, when was the last time I engaged in a hobby that I like? When was the last time I paid attention to my writing? Making sure that you're not letting those things go so that you're keeping the flow of newness coming into your life. That's what's going to help you maintain balance in your relationship. Really checking yourself and making sure in real time that you are not allowing yourself to get wrapped up in the relationship to the point where you forget about your new endeavors. Okay? Let me know if that resonated with you or not. You put up the skull emoji, so he said dead. I hope, okay, I assume that resonated with you, but let me know. Let me know, Dulcinea. No Name wanted the mirror and the mask, and Sinidra wanted the mirror and the mask, I believe. So we will do those next. If there's anyone else that wants either of those readings, let me know. Go ahead and submit your love offering and then put a comment so that I can see you, okay? But No Name, we're going to do mirror in the mask. This is going to look at the mask, so the image that you project, the mirror, the truth that lies beneath the image, and the medicine, which is going to help you be spiritually aligned. Okay? Ancestors, angels, ascended masters, spirits that walk with me. What will allow no name to be tapped into their spiritual authenticity? If there are any masks that they are hiding behind, please reveal them. Let us know what lies behind the masks. Let us know what will bring them alignment. Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. All right, Tanidra, and let me know if you're still here, and I will take care of you after no name, and if no one else wants a reading, we will wrap up after Tanidra, okay? Your mask is the Ten of Wands. So the image you project is the person that can handle it all. The person who's like, okay, I can take on your burden. You're worn out. You want a trauma dump? You want to complain? Come to me. I got it. I can take on your problems. I can absorb all the shit. That's your mask. You are the person that appears like you can take on any and everything. And it leads to your burnout. It literally leads to your burnout, no name. It's okay to put that mask down. You don't got to take on everybody's shit. The only reason why people even expect that of you is because you've allowed it to happen. So you really got to work on not feeling like you got to be everybody's everything. You don't got to take on everybody else's shit. You don't have to absorb other people's blame. Let them figure out their own shit. Not only will it be to their benefit because they learn how to be self-sufficient, but then you don't put too much on your back, right? The mirror, the truth that actually lies beneath the image. You are self-sufficient. You're self-sufficient. You are an independent girly. You are capable of immense financial blessings and personal joy. But you got to claim that for you. That's what you got to claim for yourself, right? The Nine of Pentacles is somebody who can be independently wealthy, somebody who has amazing health, somebody who has a lot of joy and luxury. But because it's hiding behind this need to be self-sacrificial and take on everybody else's shit, you don't fully get to experience it that way. So there's a disconnection there. So you really got to work on really embracing your true mirror, which is somebody who's meant to not only be wealthy, but, independent, wrapped up in their own personal joy. You're not selfish if you focus on your own personal joy. It's not. It's actually really, really healthy. So getting to that point where you give yourself permission to be your authentic self, which is somebody who is supposed to be self-sufficient and joyful. The medicine. How can you align with authentic spirituality? You got to start dealing with what you see. You choose a lot of confusion. Seven of Cups is a card of chosen confusion. It's emotional filters that cause us to distort our reality. I'm a CNA. Yeah, a lot of people who are in helping professions do this. We just talked about it when we talked about the healers, right? They can distort their own reality by thinking that it is their responsibility to take care of everybody else. So that's how you distort your own reality. You can deprioritize your own desires a lot of time, and it makes you not see your options clearly. So there are times where you will reject something that's actually going to propel you forward in order to take on something self-sacrificial. And most of the time, it's something that people can do for themselves anyway. A lot of the people around you are more self-sufficient than you give them credit for. So the way that you get to spiritual alignment and balance is you got to work on your emotional filters. You got to work on the emotional filters that make you feel like you are, and I'm using this word because Spirit is giving it to me. I don't know you personally. You gotta work on the emotional filter that makes you feel like you got to be the savior. Save yourself first. You actually do a lot better for the people around you when you save you first, as opposed to feeling like the only way to get through things is to be self-sacrificial and then reading everything through this self-sacrificial lens. Okay? Let me know if that resonated with you or not. Sanidra, I got you next. If there is no one else after Sanidra, I'll go ahead and wrap up for the night. Let me double check. If you wanted a reading, go ahead and put it in the comments so that I know to go ahead and create space for you. If not, we will go ahead and wrap up with Sanidra after this reading. I know it may have been hard to hear, No Name, but I'm glad that it resonated with you. If it resonated with you, that's all that matters. And thank you for letting me read for you. All of you, thank you for letting me read for you. It's a vulnerable thing to get your personal business read on a live stream. So, and that's not lost on me. So thank you all for trusting me. We'll go ahead and wrap up with Sanidra for the night because no one else has put in a request. Ancestors, angels, ascended masters, spirits, walk with me. What wisdom does Sanidra need about her spiritual authenticity? What is the mask? What is the mirror? What will allow her to be in spiritual alignment? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. And I know I typically don't go live on Friday, so there may be some people who aren't here. That happened last week where people watched over the weekend and then they were like, wait a minute, I wanted that reading. So I'll probably revisit a few of these spreads on Sunday too, when we do the weekly forecast reading, when we do the weekly wisdom reading. Nicole said thank you too. I don't know if that's a conversation that she's been having with you, No Name, but she's also saying thank you. Okay. All right. So Sanidra, your mask, and this is really interesting. Your mask actually is the magician. Your mask is the magician. And it's interesting because the magician is a trickster, right? The magician in its alignment is somebody who understands that they have all the tools at their disposal to get what they need done. But in its misalignment, it is the trickster energy. And what do we know about the trickster archetype? The trickster is somebody who is doing just enough to get by, right? They're doing just enough to get by. There's somebody who is doing one thing with their left hand and another thing with their right. So this is the mask that you wear. You wear a mask of somebody who has all the answers, but you're actually doing something different behind the scenes, if that makes sense. So you can present yourself one way while your actions are doing another thing. So that's how it shows up as inauthenticity. You got to get comfortable with being able to say who you really are and what you really want, as opposed to feeling like in order for you to get by, you have to move one way publicly while doing something else behind the scene or with your other hand, right? A lot of times when people show up in that trickster energy, they learned it as a safety mechanism. The mirror, what truly lies beneath the image. The Two of Pentacles, you're overworked, you're stretched thin. And that's a huge part of the reason why the trickster is here. I think you don't want people to catch on to how exhausted you are. I don't think you want people to catch on to how fearful you are, that if you don't perform a certain way, you won't be loved, right? So the Two of Pentacles, which is your authentic energy, is one of feeling like you got to juggle everything. You got to juggle a lot of responsibilities. You got to juggle things in order to figure out, like, if you don't juggle it, things will fall apart. And this is an emotional landscape of somebody who takes on too much. That's the easiest way that I can say the Two of Pentacles and why it's coming up as what your authentic energy is. Because even though it's what lies beneath the surface or what lies beneath the image, it's not where you need to be, right? So I'm glad that we have the alignment question. The medicine, in terms of what's going to bring you into alignment with your spiritual authenticity, younger you didn't see yourself that way. Younger you didn't feel like if the shoe falls, or if you can't balance everything, people aren't going to love you or people aren't going to see you as capable. There's a younger iteration of you. And through your own inner child work, through your own meditations, you'll understand what age and what version of yourself that is. But you really have to use your nostalgia in a productive way to get back to the version of yourself that felt like you didn't have to perform, right? Because that's the trickster dynamic of the magician. They're a performer, right? That's why I love that this is the tech visionary. When you look at most tech visionaries, what they present to the world is not what they do in their private life. Mark Zuckerberg has one of the biggest social media empires on the planet. And he is notorious for saying, there is no social media in my home. My children do not have access to the internet or Facebook. Right? And you move this way because you feel like if you don't move this way, something's going to fall apart. That you have to have two sides of you in order to survive. Younger you knows that that's not true. So there was some sort of experience that caused you to split in that way. And in order for you to have your medicine that brings you into spiritual alignment, you need to reconnect with that younger version of yourself that believed it was okay to, you don't have to have an external persona and then hide the real you. You know what I mean? You don't have to have a world persona and then the version of yourself that you hide from everybody. Does that make sense? Let me know if that resonated with you or not. All right, I think I've gotten to the end of the list. If there's no one else, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up for the night. I do want to thank everybody that joined me for this discussion. If you came in a little late and you don't know what we were talking about, definitely make sure you watch the replay. Because even though we talked about Jhene Aiko and Big Sean's potential or alleged breakup, the bigger conversation around self-sacrifice, aesthetic spirituality, and losing self in partnership is one that we can, especially as spiritual women, the men too, all of us can benefit from it, but particularly the spiritual women really need to be rooted in that conversation. So if you did not catch that first part, make sure that you take time over the weekend to go back and watch the first half hour to 45 minutes of this video before I got into the readings. No one else has put in a request for a reading, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up for the night. I will be back Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. for the weekly energy reading. I always do those Sunday nights. Before I go, I just want to remind everyone that Rich Spirit starts Monday. The deadline to sign up for Rich Spirit is tomorrow night. So if you've been wanting to join us for that ritual, make sure you hit the link below so that you can join the WhatsApp and get more information. I think that's the only thing I have with a deadline on it. Everything else y'all are aware of. Join my Patreon for exclusive classes. 2026 forecast reading is available. Limited time only. You won't be able to get it after February. So book early while you can. Yeah, and other than that, I will see you guys all on Sunday. Take care. Be kind. Treat yourself well. And I'll see you Sunday.